Hello everybody, welcome back to the Herefordshire Gardener channel. My name's Aaron. In this video today I'm going to be doing a review on the rose A Shropshire Lad, bred by David Austin and released in 1996. Sadly this rose is no longer available through David Austin as it is retired, but it's an absolute shame because it's such a beauty. A Shropshire Lad is a climber. Will grow similar heights to Claire Austin, Bathsheba for example, so around about 10 foot. But it's the blooms and the colours and shapes of the blooms that steal my heart. So stick around and see this rose in the fruit cage next to me in just a minute's time. Remember, if you find the video useful, give it a thumbs up to help it go out on YouTube to other people that might have similar interests. And also, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates. Thanks again for watching. So for anybody who's new to watching my videos on the Herefordshire Gardener channel, we're in the kitchen garden, or what will soon be the kitchen garden later this year. We're in a Victorian greenhouse put where the fruit cage is, so I'm using that as a temporary storage place for a lot of my shrub roses in pots that are going to be going in this area and around the house. It's going to be veg beds and rose beds down here and a new fence along the back, which is going to have some amazing roses up there. Those are the chickens, which are going to be getting moved a little bit further back and a new fence put down. So I'm just going to bring you to the rose cage, which is where I've got a Shropshire Lad. It's over in the back. I've got some temporary staging just to support my pots and roses. So this rose I purchased again from supplier Tanya's Gardens on Facebook. I don't think she's trading anymore. And there seemed to be some issues with orders people were getting. I think they were getting sent dud roses. That might be to do with issues with her supply chain. I feel like I was lucky because I got on the bandwagon of Tanya's Gardens right at the beginning. So back in end of 2023, September time. And I think her suppliers at the time were still producing exactly what they were advertising to her. So the roses that I got in the first set of purchases that I made tend to be the right ones. Later ones that I bought in 2023 turned out to be completely wrong ones, just complete duds. So I could see that transition between getting exactly what I ordered versus just being sent rubbish. But as I've said in previous videos, I think it's a risk that you take with purchasing anything online that's not from a reputable supplier, so like David Austin themselves or another rose supplier that's quite a big establishment. So I took that risk. It paid off with most of the roses that I bought. However, there's about 6 or 7 that I purchased that are actually beautiful roses, but they're not what I purchased. So if I take you into the rose cage, A Shropshire Lad was one that last year, 2024, I thought it was a dud rose. Sometimes the roses, when they first bloom for you in their first year, whether you get them from David Austin or not, sometimes the blooms are not quite true to what the parent bloom is going to be. It hasn't reached its full potential. Bit of a dud bloom. It needs a bit of time to beef up, and then you see the real beautiful blooms come. So in my head, I'd written off A Shropshire Lad. I thought, okay, I've got a dud. It's an okay looking rose, but it's definitely not a Shropshire Lad because it just doesn't look, like I've seen pictures and videos of a Shropshire Lad. And so I've been desperately chasing if I could get it from anywhere else, because Tanya's Garden's been shut down, as I mentioned. Very, very difficult rose to find. There are some Facebook groups, Retired David Austin Roses, and you might be able to do swaps for cuttings that people have done, or rooted cuttings, etc. But it is quite a difficult one to come across. I did manage, if you're listening, Sharon, and watching my videos, to get some cuttings from one of my Facebook friends, and they're actually doing really well. I haven't checked to see if they've got roots yet, but the stems are looking quite healthy, and we've got some new growth out, and we're about 4 to 5 weeks in, so I'm quite hopeful. So I'm going to take you down now to this rose. I've been keeping an eye on it, as I said, and to my surprise, it's done exactly what I hoped that it would do. And you can already see it from here. Look at this rose. How beautiful is that? I'm going to take you to, that bloom was the first one to open. I'll give you a quick glimpse of that, and then I'm going to show you some that are on their way to opening now. So I'll just give you an idea. These are what the blooms come out like, and I noticed this year it was quite striking. It's almost a apricot pink. Gives a sort of tropical vibe to me compared to a lot of the buds in this room. So, you know, at this stage I still weren't sure, is it, isn't it? And then it got to like this and I thought, I can see some peach tones in there. And then it started to open like this and I thought, oh my God, I actually think this could be a Shropshire Lad. Foliage, stems, everything matches so far, and then it did this. Look at that. Wowzer. Look at that. Look at the cuppage and colouring of that rose. Oh my God, we've got soft apricot tones. We've got some tangerines and some peach and some pink towards the middle. Deeply cupped. Soaking up all that sunshine. Look at the blend of colours there. I love this rose. I'm so glad that I've got it. I'm so glad that I've got cuttings on the go as well, but what a delight. I didn't expect to be doing a review of this for a few years. And here it is right in front of me. Beautiful. Look at the scroll buds. They remind me a bit of Bathsheba. Almost got a hand-painted appearance. Just really, really pretty. Very blousy. I love it. I absolutely adore it. And she's loaded with blooms. These are just the first few that are coming out. This one's been open, I'd say, for about 3 days now. And just look how strong it's going. Slightly, you know, still got that deep cup shape there with outer petals reflex back, which just again elevate the bloom. I think that is beautiful. Stamens in the middle. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the coloration of this rose. And it's got an ombre effect between that peach and pink. And you can see how the two sort of blend into each other. So many petals as well. Look at the petal count on that. And they're sort of more compact in the middle and then relax as you get further out. Just show you that one again. Beautiful. And as I said, we've got quite a few blooms on this to come out. I think probably in the region of about 20 blooms. And considering this was a bare root rose, which I purchased from Tanya's Gardens in end of 2023. Didn't do very well last year. Maybe it's because of all the rain that we had as well. That's something to factor in. And the blooms just, they weren't true to type. I don't remember it. I normally take a lot of pictures of my roses just for reference, so, you know, remind me where they are, how they performed that year, etc. And I definitely note that this did not perform like this. Didn't have as many blooms for a start, and they didn't have this shape. But I just think that is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. And the foliage is a lovely glossy dark green, very healthy. Really, really pretty. Matte effect underneath, quite a different contrasting colour actually. But we've got quite a lot of foliage on this girl. Or is it a guy? It's a Shropshire Lad. I call all my roses girls. Not that boys aren't beautiful, but I think, I don't know, there's something very angelic about them. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is that not just stunning? I'm getting a lot of Bathsheba vibes from this rose, but different. It's different to Bathsheba, completely different. Bathsheba's more cupped and more orange and peaches, whereas this has got that pink tone in there. And I just love the ombre effect of this bloom. See how like the peachy orange blends into that lovely, I'd say almost salmon pink in the middle. Stunning. And the fragrance, Oh, that's lovely. That is really nice. She's fruity. I wouldn't say she's the strongest rose. She's not sort of golden celebration scent strong, but she's lovely. There's a slight, in my opinion, a little hint of myrrh in there as well. But mainly she's sort of fruity fragrance, fresh. I'd say a fresh note. It's beautiful. New foliage when it comes out, you can see is sort of a lighter green, lovely burgundy edge to the leaves. You can see there as well, slightly more mature leaf. And then, as I said earlier, they sort of finish out as this nice dark green. Kind of lose that burgundy border. They look beautiful. And the buds, when they first come out, slightly darker. I'd say slightly darker green compared to some which are almost lime green, some roses. And very similar to the new emerging leaves actually when you compare those two colours. And then they sort of come out into lovely round blooms with that famous twist at the top. And as they progress, you get the sepals opening to reveal the petals inside. And that just keeps on progressing, as we've said, into this. And then, wow, big cupped, blousy, colourful bloom. Stunning, just look at that. Wow. And then sort of further opening into this. So that is a Shropshire Lad. I've only got one of these roses. Sadly, might have a few more when the cuttings take, and I probably will end up doing cuttings of this at some point in the future. I don't know where I'm going to put this one yet. As I said, the fence at the back, other side of that fruit cage, is getting replaced, so there's going to be lots of room for climbing roses, and it might steal a spot there, perhaps maybe by one of the arches that I install. I think it needs to have pride of place, this rose, because it's beautiful. If you look at the stems, it's not actually that thorny. There's the occasional thorn on there, and it's tiny compared to the stem width. But you know, as you come up there, that section, for example, has got 0 thorns. These sections up here, it's practically thornless, to be honest, which is unusual. Look at all this new growth up here, for example. No thorns. There's none here either. So that's useful, I guess, as a trait if you want to put this where perhaps you're, you know, you've got passing people, passing traffic, or by a bench, and you don't want you or your guests to get prickled to death. A Shropshire Lad, if you can actually get your hands on one, would be a good option. And I think people will notice this rose in your garden, they'll talk about it. I know a lot of people on the Facebook groups adore this rose. It is beautiful. As I've said in all of my previous rose videos, I do have these roses in pots. I did have foil around this one. I need to re-put it on because you can see it came off when I was moving the pot. I sort of staged these so they're in a bit of a zigzag just to give them a little bit more space between the roses. And if you're interested, I'm going to be doing a review on every single rose in this kitchen garden, including all of my cuttings at the other side. So there will be future videos. A lot of them, the majority of them, are David Austin roses, and some absolute belters for you to see. So please don't miss those videos. Remember to subscribe, you'll get notified when I do new uploads. As I mentioned before, I've got alpaca poo on the base of these roses. We've got 3 alpacas, soon to be 5, when our 2 pregnant females give birth in about 2 months' time. Alpaca poo, gardening gold, has the advantage that it can go straight onto your pots and your beds without burning the roots of whatever plant it is you're putting on, including roses. Nitrogen is the thing that we worry about with things like horse manure, cow manure, sheep manure. It's very rich in nitrogen, and if you put that straight on to your pots or your beds, the nitrogen actually burns the plant's roots, and that's not good, because then your plant suffers and it doesn't look as beautiful as this. Alpaca poo, on the other hand, has a much lower nitrogen content, so it can go straight on to the pots without causing them any issues. I love it because I top dress the pots, so it acts like a mat on top, which when the sun hits the soil, it stops it from drying out and cracking. So it acts as a mulch, but it fertilizes every time I top water. The plant's getting that fertilizer trickling down, which also helps, by the way, if you're interested, if you've got roses in pots and plan to keep them there, when you add fertilizer to pots and you water, that fertilizer over time is going to get washed out of that pot because the water's going through and out. So I would always encourage, when you're putting fertilizer on top, to make sure that you're reapplying it several times throughout the growing season, just so that the nutrient content of it continues to move through top to bottom in that pot each time it's watered. Otherwise your plants, they're not going to get what they need to grow big, strong, healthy and put out as many blooms. And remember to water your pots. I use the foil because it reflects the sun's rays, stops the pots heating up, and therefore they don't dry out as much. But I appreciate if you've got a lovely patio. Remember, I'm in a temporary fruit cage that's going to be going later this year to make way for the greenhouse, and so I don't really care what the pots look like. It's a practical thing for me. But if you don't mind a bit of tinfoil around yours, that might help. Or put some other pots in front to shade, with some shrubs, some little bedding plants in front just to shade your pots. That would be a good idea. Because then the sun won't hit them directly, and it just stops the soil from warming up. The roots need to be kept cool, just as they would in the ground. So I found by doing this, the roses seem to be doing a lot better. So that is A Shropshire Lad. Remember, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. A like always helps it to go out to more people on YouTube that are looking for the same types of videos and have similar interests to us. So that would be massively appreciated. And as I've mentioned earlier, if you've already subscribed to the channel, massive thank you from me. I've had some amazing comments so far on the videos. And I'm really enjoying making these for everybody and sharing the roses that I have here. If you aren't already subscribed, please do. I'm trying to upload as many videos as possible, particularly this year, just to capture all the different roses in bloom and share my opinions. So subscribe and then you won't miss any future updates. Thanks again for watching and take care. Bye.